Chosen one, anchor your mind right here. Do not let your spirit drift for another second. I know you are exhausted. You have been running a spiritual marathon, hunting for answers, hunting for resources, hunting for peace, and you are tired of coming up empty. But the Holy Spirit brought you to this video to tell you why it has not happened yet. It is not because God forgot you. It is because you are a moving target. Every time you panic, you change your spiritual coordinates. And right now, there are 3 specific envoys sent by God with the answers you have been praying for, who are circling your life, trying to deliver your breakthrough, but they cannot find you because you keep moving. Stop. The chase ends today. You are about to be found. I need you to perform a mental check right now. Do not move your body. Just shift your internal attention to your chest cavity. Feel that rhythm beating against your ribs. That is not the heartbeat of someone at rest. That is the rhythm of a runner. Even when you are sitting still, your spirit is sprinting. I am talking about that moment when you pull your car into the driveway or the parking lot at work, and you turn off the engine, but you do not get out. You just sit there, gripping the steering wheel, staring at nothing, because the thought of walking through that door and facing another day of fighting for your survival feels impossible. You feel a vibration in your legs, a restless energy that makes you want to pace the floor at 3 a.m. You tell yourself it is ambition. You tell yourself it is drive. But deep down, you know the truth. It is panic. It is the terrifying sensation that if you stop moving, everything you have built will collapse. This is not just stress. This is runner's fatigue. And it is dangerous because you are running on fumes in a race God never asked you to enter. Before we go deeper into the root of this running, listen to me closely. You need to stay with me until the very last second of this message. This is not just information. This is an alignment. By the end of this audio, I am going to reveal the specific identities of the 3 envoys making their way to you right now. I will show you exactly how to recognize them so you do not mistake them for the enemy. And, in the final minutes, we are going to perform a sealing activation to lock in your spiritual coordinates so they can finally land. Do not leave before the seal is set. If you leave early, you are just restarting the cycle of running. Stay put. Receive the full download. Now, let us look at why you are running. You have asked God 1,000 times, why hasn't my breakthrough come? Why is it taking so long? Here is the hard truth. God sent the answer to point A, which is where you were when you prayed. But by the time the answer arrived, you had panicked and moved to point B. Then you doubted and moved to point C. You are treating your destiny like a game of chase. You think you are pursuing the blessing, but in reality, you are dodging it. The blessing is trying to intersect with your timeline, but your anxiety is creating a chaotic frequency that repels the very thing you desire. But why do you do this? Why is it so hard for you to just be still? It is not because you are impatient. It is deeper than that. The root of your running is a spiritual condition known as the orphan spirit. An orphan does not believe they have a father to provide for them. An orphan believes that if they do not hunt, they do not eat. An orphan believes that survival is entirely up to their own 2 hands. Somewhere along the line, maybe because of how you were raised, or maybe because of how many times people failed you, you internalized a lie. The lie is that you are alone in this universe. You operate from a survival mode that says, I have to make it happen because nobody is coming to save me. That mindset is the engine driving your exhaustion. It is why you overwork. It is why you over-explain. It is why you cannot sleep. You are trying to be your own God because you are terrified that the real God is on vacation. This brings us to a critical instruction that has been misunderstood for centuries. In Exodus chapter 14, verse 13, the Israelites are trapped. The Red Sea is in front of them, and the Egyptian army is behind them. They are panicking, they are running, they are screaming, and Moses gives them a command that sounds insane. In English, it says, "Fear not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord." Most people hear, "stand still," and they think it means to do nothing. They think it means to be passive, to be weak, to just wait around. But when you dig into the original Hebrew, the word used there is yatsib, and yatsib does not mean to relax. It is a military term. It means to station yourself. It means to take a firm stand. It means to ground yourself in a position of authority and refuse to be moved by the chaos surrounding you. When God tells you to stay put, He is not telling you to take a nap. He is telling you to take a stance. He is telling you to yatsib, to dig your heels into the ground of your faith and tell your orphan spirit, "No, I will not run today. I will not panic today. I will not scramble for crumbs today. I will station myself right here, and I will let the salvation of the Lord come to me." This is active, aggressive stillness. It is the stillness of a king on a throne, not a leaf in the wind. But here is where the enemy traps you. You think the alternative to running is waiting. You think the solution to your exhaustion is patience. And so you try to be patient. You try to wait. And it feels like torture. It feels like you are dying inside. I am about to tell you why. I am about to reveal why the traditional idea of patience is actually a trap that is killing your destiny, and what you should be doing instead of waiting. Because if you just wait, you will wither. But if you do what I am about to show you, you will become a magnet. You have been told to wait on the Lord. It is the most common advice given to chosen ones. And truthfully, it is the advice that causes the most spiritual damage when it is misunderstood. Be honest with yourself right now. How does that waiting feel? It does not feel holy. It feels like you are sitting in a dentist's waiting room, staring at a clock that isn't moving, while your life slowly rots away. There is a voice in the back of your head, a raw and unfiltered voice that you are too afraid to speak out loud in prayer. It says, "God, if you loved me, you would hurry up." It says, "Everyone else is moving forward, getting married, getting promoted, buying houses, and I am stuck here in this invisible cage called waiting. Am I actually waiting on you, or am I just wasting my life? Am I delusional? Maybe I missed the sign 3 years ago, and now I am just sitting here for a bus that already left." This type of waiting is not faith. It is spiritual paralysis. It creates a vacuum in your soul where depression breeds. When you believe that staying put means doing nothing until God moves, you hand over your power. You become a victim of time. You wake up every morning checking your phone to see if the miracle happened while you slept, and when it hasn't, a little piece of your hope dies. Over time, this passive waiting turns into bitterness. You start to resent the very people you are supposed to bless. You start to resent God. You think you are being obedient, but you are actually slowly suffocating your own spirit. This is the false summit. You thought the test was about how long you could suffer in silence. It is not. We need to shatter this lie right now. God is not asking for passivity. He is asking for alignment. There is a massive difference between a man who is waiting for a storm to pass and a man who is building a shelter in the middle of it. One is a victim. The other is a king. To understand this, we must go to the manual. In Isaiah chapter 30, verse 15, the scripture says, "In quietness and in trust shall be your strength. But again, the English translation fails to capture the voltage of what is being said here. The Hebrew word used for quietness is shakat. Shakat does not mean silence. It does not mean keeping your mouth shut. It implies a state of being undisturbed. It means to settle down, to be tranquil, but specifically in the way a city is tranquil when its walls are fortified and its guards are posted. It is the quietness of absolute security. It is the silence of a structure that knows it cannot be moved by the wind. Think of a lighthouse. A lighthouse does not run up and down the beach looking for boats to save. It does not panic when the fog rolls in. It does not scream at the waves. It stays put. It is undeniably still. But is it passive? Absolutely not. Inside that lighthouse, there is a massive amount of energy being generated. It is actively projecting a beam of light that cuts through the darkness. It is working harder than anyone else on the shore, but it is doing so from a fixed position. Its stillness is its strategy. If the lighthouse decided to move, to run into the water to help the ships, it would cease to be a guide and become a casualty. The ships would crash because the reference point moved. You are the lighthouse. The three envoys I told you about, the financier, the protector, and the destiny partner, they are the ships out at sea. They are looking for you. They are navigating toward your signal. But every time you enter that passive, depressing waiting mode, your light goes out. And every time you enter that frantic, running mode, your light moves, and they lose your coordinates. You must shift from waiting to aligning. This brings us to your new operating system. I call this the Lighthouse Protocol. This is exactly how you execute the command to Yatsib, to station yourself, starting right now. I want you to engage this protocol with me. You do not need to move your physical body. In fact, the less you move, the better. We are going to perform a mental construction. Close your eyes if it is safe to do so, or just soften your gaze. Phase 1 of the protocol is the anchor. Visualize your feet. Imagine that instead of standing on the surface, your roots are shooting down through the floor, through the dirt, through the bedrock, wrapping around the core of the earth. You are heavy. You are dense. You are unmovable. When the waves of anxiety hit you, they do not push you over. They shatter against you. In your mind, say to the storm, I am not going anywhere. I am the reference point. Feel the dignity of that stance. You are no longer a beggar waiting for a crumb. You are a monument waiting to be visited. Phase 2 is the beam. This is where you switch from receiving to transmitting. The passive waiter asks, when will I get mine? The lighthouse broadcasts, I am here. Shift your internal frequency from lack to authority. Instead of vibrating with the question, where are you? Start vibrating with the statement, I am ready. Imagine a light projecting from your chest, scanning the horizon. This light is your faith. It is your certainty. You are signaling to the spiritual realm that you are open for business. You are signaling to those envoys that the landing zone is prepared. Phase 3 is the scan. A lighthouse rotates. It covers 360 degrees. It is aware. When you practice strategic stillness, your spiritual eyes open. You stop looking at your problems and you start scanning the horizon for the approach of God's promises. You become hyper-aware of who is entering your field. You are watching for the 3 specific ships we discussed. You are alert. You are expectant. You are not sleeping. You are keeping watch. Do you feel the difference? This is not the depressing waiting room. This is active, high-voltage alignment. You are burning energy, but you are not burning out. You are staying put, but you are more powerful than you have ever been. By simply holding this frequency, by refusing to move to the left or to the right, you are creating a magnetic pull that defies the laws of probability. The ships have no choice but to find you because you are the only thing shining in the dark. If you are ready to stop waiting and start anchoring, type the word anchor in the comments. Do not type it as a wish. Type it as a declaration that your feet are locked in and your light is on. But I have to warn you, even as you visualize this, even as you feel the power of this protocol, there is something inside of you that hates it. There is a part of your brain that is screaming at you to get up and do something. It feels like ants crawling under your skin. It feels like a burning need to check your phone, to send that text, to force a door open. This is not just habit. This is an enemy. There is a saboteur living in your nervous system that is terrified of stillness. And right now, he is activating the itch. He knows that if you hold this lighthouse position for even 1 hour, the envoys will see you. So he is about to launch an all-out assault on your peace to make you move. Let's talk about that itch. You know exactly what I am talking about. It is that vibrating tension in your chest that screams at you the moment you try to rest. You say you want peace. You pray for peace. You cry out to God for a break from the constant warfare. But here is the shadow truth that we are terrified to admit. You are addicted to the chaos. Your nervous system has been in survival mode for so long, dodging arrows, fighting battles, and putting out fires, that it has forgotten how to function in safety. When things finally get quiet, when the storm actually breaks, you do not feel relieved. You feel bored. You feel anxious. You feel unsafe. Your body is so flooded with cortisol and adrenaline that silence feels like a threat. You are waiting for the other shoe to drop. You are scanning the horizon for a problem because a problem gives you something to do. A problem makes you feel useful. A problem makes you feel alive. This is the saboteur. It is the voice of your trauma masquerading as your logic. Listen to what it whispers to you when you try to engage the lighthouse protocol. It says, "You are being lazy." It says, "Look at your bank account. How can you afford to sit still?" It points at other people on social media and screams, "Look at them. They are hustling. They are grinding. They are getting ahead. And you are just sitting here doing nothing. You are going to lose everything. You are being irresponsible." This voice is not protecting you. It is trying to drag you back into the matrix of striving, because it knows that the moment you truly stop, God takes over, and your ego loses control. We need to confront this addiction right now with the sword of the Spirit. In Psalm 46:10, we find the famous command, "Be still and know that I am God." You have seen this on coffee mugs and wall art, but you have likely never understood the violence of what God is actually saying here. The Hebrew word for "be still" is Rapha. It does not mean to sit quietly and meditate. Rapha means to let drop. It means to slacken. It means to let go of your grip. Imagine you are hanging off the edge of a cliff, holding on for dear life, your knuckles white, your muscles screaming. Rapha is the command to open your hands. It is the command to drop. It also implies the dropping of weapons. In the context of battle, Rapha means to lower your sword. It means to stop fighting because the battle is no longer yours. God is saying, drop your hands. Stop manipulating the outcome. Stop trying to strangle your destiny into existence. Stop fighting a war I have already won. The reason you cannot know that He is God is because you are too busy trying to be God yourself. You are trying to micromanage the miracle. And as long as your hands are gripping the problem, God's hands cannot touch it. So we are going to perform a mental release right now. We are going to practice Rafa. You do not need to move a muscle. I want you to visualize your hands. In your mind's eye, see them gripping the steering wheel of your life. See how tight your grip is. You are holding on to your finances. You are holding on to that relationship outcome. You are holding on to your reputation. You are holding on to the timeline. Your grip is so tight it is cutting off the circulation. Now, in your imagination, I want you to lift your pinky finger off the wheel. Just one finger. Breathe. Now the ring finger. Let it go. Now the middle finger. It feels terrifying, doesn't it? Your mind is screaming that you are going to crash. Ignore it. Lift the index finger. Now, release the thumb. In your mind, pull your hands back completely. Put them in your lap. Look at the wheel. It is still turning. The car is still moving. But now, someone else is driving. Feel the rush of terror, followed by the wash of relief. That is the feeling of Rafa. That is the feeling of surrender. You are not quitting. You are simply acknowledging that you were never the one keeping the world spinning in the first place. If you felt that release, if you felt those mental fingers uncurl, I want you to type the word release in the comments. Do it as a physical act of dropping the weapon. Now that your hands are off the wheel, now that you have stopped the frantic motion, something incredible is happening in the spiritual realm. The static has cleared. The interference is gone. Your signal is broadcasting loud and clear. And because you have finally stopped moving, I can show you what has been tracking you this whole time. I want you to imagine a heat map of your life. There are 3 distinct heat signatures moving toward your location. These are not vague concepts. These are 3 specific individuals. They are the envoys. And now that you are still, they are closing the distance. Let me tell you exactly who they are. Forget everything you think you know about how your breakthrough is supposed to arrive. You have been looking for a check in the mail. You have been looking for a lottery win. You have been looking for an abstract shifting of circumstances. And that is exactly why you have missed the signs. The heat map I am looking at right now does not show objects. It shows souls. Here is the major revelation that changes the entire game. God's blessings do not fall out of the sky like rain. God's blessings wear human clothes. The miracle you are fasting for is currently walking around in a physical body, living a life, and searching for you just as frantically as you are searching for it. The concept of the envoys is the secret mechanism of the kingdom. We often think of God doing everything directly, but Scripture shows us a pattern. When God wanted to save the world from famine, He didn't just make grain appear in the silos. He sent a man named Joseph to a man named Pharaoh. When God wanted to elevate David to the throne, He didn't just zap him into the palace. He sent a man named Jonathan to open the door. Your next level is locked behind a human relationship. The reason the enemy has been isolating you, making you feel like a lone wolf, making you suspicious of everyone, is because he knows that if you connect with these 3 specific people, his hold on your life is broken forever. You are not waiting for a thing. You are waiting for a who. And right now, because you have anchored yourself, because you have stopped the frantic running, the first 2 envoys are entering your perimeter. Let's profile the first one. I call this person the financier. Now, do not make the mistake of thinking this is just about money, although resources are a massive part of it. This dynamic is based on the biblical pattern of Joseph and Pharaoh found in Genesis chapter 41. Look at your life right now. You have the vision. You have the anointing. You have the solution. You know exactly what needs to be done. but you lack the platform. You lack the resources to scale it. You are a Joseph. You have the interpretation of the dream, but you are stuck in a prison of limited means. Now look at the financier. This person is a pharaoh archetype. This does not mean they are a king, but it means they have the platform. They have the resources. They have the influence. But here is the cold reading reality about them. They are currently having a nightmare. They have a problem that their money cannot solve. They have a business that is stalling, or a vision they cannot execute, or a spiritual emptiness that their success cannot fill. They are up at night, tossing and turning, looking for someone with the Spirit of God in them to bring clarity. You have been intimidated by people with money and status because you felt like a beggar in their presence. But the twist is this: the financier is not doing you a favor. They need you. Pharaoh needed Joseph more than Joseph needed Pharaoh. Without Joseph, Egypt would have starved. Without you, the financier's vision will collapse. This envoy is coming to you not to give you charity, but to give you a partnership. This is a divine exchange. You provide the spiritual wisdom and the strategic insight. They provide the infrastructure and the funding. I am seeing something specific here. For many of you, this person is someone you may have already met in passing, or someone you are about to meet in a setting that feels completely secular. It might be a boardroom, a coffee shop, or a random Zoom call. They might be older than you, perhaps with graying hair, carrying an air of authority but with a heaviness in their eyes. When you speak, when you share your vision, you will see a shift in their countenance. It is the look of relief. It is the look of someone saying, "Finally, I found the one who holds the key." Do not run from this connection out of inferiority. Do not sabotage it by thinking you are not qualified. You are the answer to their prayer. They are the funding for your vision. This is the first collision that is about to happen. The second envoy is approaching from a different angle. I call this person the protector. This dynamic is based on the covenant between David and Jonathan in 1 Samuel chapter 18. If there is one wound that all chosen ones share, it is the wound of betrayal. You are used to being the scapegoat. You are used to people stabbing you in the back. You are used to fighting your battles alone, with nobody defending your name when you are not in the room. You have had many Judases, but you have had very few Jonathans. Jonathan was the son of the king, yet he stripped himself of his robe, his tunic, his sword, and his belt, and gave them to David. This was a prophetic act of covering. The protector is sent by God to cover you in a season where you are vulnerable. You have been fighting with your guard up for so long that you are exhausted. You are hyper-vigilant, always watching for the knife. This envoy is coming to stand back to back with you. Here is how you will recognize the protector. They will advocate for you when you don't even know you are being discussed. You might not even like them at first. They might seem too bold, too aggressive, or too protective. But you will notice something different. When others gossip about you, this person shuts it down. When others try to exploit your gift, this person sets a boundary. They are not looking for your spotlight. They are assigned to guard your oil. I sense that for some of you, this protector is someone who has been watching you from a distance for a long time. They have seen your integrity. They have seen how you handled the attacks. And God is releasing them now to step in and say, "Enough." They are bringing a shield to your life. Imagine the relief of knowing that you can finally close your eyes and sleep because someone else is on the watchtower. Imagine the healing that will flood your nervous system when you realize you don't have to carry the sword 24 hours a day anymore. This person is coming to restore your faith in loyalty. They are the antidote to the betrayal trauma you have been carrying for years. So you have the financier bringing the resources to build your dream. You have the protector bringing the covering to keep you safe while you build. These two envoys are critical. They are the foundation. If you had kept running, if you had kept changing your coordinates in a panic, you would have missed the meeting with the financier. You would have pushed away the protector because your trauma would have labeled them as a threat. But because you are anchoring, because you are using the lighthouse protocol, they are locking onto your signal. But there is a third envoy, and I have to be honest with you, I hesitated to even bring this one up because the energy around this third person is so intense, so personal, and so raw that it might make you weep right where you are standing. The financier secures your future. The protector secures your safety. But the third envoy, this is the one you have cried yourself to sleep over. This is the one you have bargained with God for. This is the connection that feels less like a meeting and more like a collision of souls. And this is also the one you are most likely to miss, because they are not going to appear in the package you are expecting. The third envoy is what I call the destiny partner. Now, calm your spirit, because I know where your mind just went. You are thinking about romance. You are thinking about a husband or a wife. And yes, for many of you, this envoy will carry that mantle. But to limit this person to just romance is to insult the magnitude of their assignment. This is a kingdom connection. This is the Peter and Cornelius dynamic found in the book of Acts. This person holds the missing code to your purpose. They are the lock that fits your key. When you meet them, something in your DNA is going to vibrate. It is not going to feel like butterflies in your stomach, which is often just anxiety masking itself as excitement. It is going to feel like a heavy, grounding click. It is the sound of a spiritual gear finally engaging. Here is the prophetic cold reading on this person. The destiny partner is someone who has the capacity to handle the weight of your calling. You have spent your life dumbing yourself down, shrinking your vision, and apologizing for your intensity because the people around you could not handle your voltage. You have felt like too much for everyone. This envoy is different. They are not intimidated by your fire. They are fueled by it. They are the first person in your life who will look at the magnitude of your dream and say, "Is that all? Let's go bigger." They validate your sanity. They make you realize that you weren't crazy all those years. You were just surrounded by people who were too small for your destiny. However, and this is the warning that I need you to etch into your spirit right now, there is a dangerous law in the spiritual realm that governs the arrival of these envoys. It is the law of precedence. The counterfeit always arrives before the authentic. The moment you start anchoring, the moment you set your coordinates for these three envoys, the enemy sees it too. He intercepts the signal. And because he cannot stop the blessing, he tries to block the landing zone with a fake. He sends a counterfeit financier, a counterfeit protector, and especially a counterfeit destiny partner. His goal is to get you to sign a contract with the wrong person, to marry the wrong person, to partner with the wrong spirit, so that when the real envoy arrives, your hands are already full. You are occupied. You are distracted. We must equip you with a weapon to discern this. We need to unpack 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. It warns us that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. The Greek word used here is metaschematizo. It means to change the outward form, to disguise, to fashion oneself. This tells us something terrifyingly important. The counterfeit will not look evil. It will not look dark. It will not look like a problem. It will look like an answer to prayer. It will look like light. It will look like the exact package you asked for. The counterfeit financier will promise you millions. The counterfeit protector will promise you safety. The counterfeit partner will say all the right words. They will masquerade as the blessing. So how do you tell the difference? How do you distinguish the angel of light from the light of the world? You cannot do it with your eyes. Your eyes will lie to you. You must do it with your gut. You must use somatic discernment. I am going to give you framework number 2, the 7 forms of false envoys. These are the 7 disguises the enemy uses to intercept your blessing. I want you to mentally scan your current relationships and the new people entering your life against this grid. Do not visualize their faces. Visualize the feeling they leave in your body. Form 1 is the mirror. This counterfeit mimics you perfectly. They agree with everything you say. They like everything you like. It feels like instant chemistry, but it is actually flattery. Watch your ego. If someone feels too perfect too quickly, check your spirit. The somatic sign here is a head rush, a feeling of being high or intoxicated by their attention, but underneath that, a subtle feeling of being hunted. Form 2 is the sprinter. This counterfeit introduces urgency. They want to sign the deal now. They want to define the relationship now. They push past your boundaries in the name of passion or efficiency. The real envoy respects the pace of God. The fake one rushes because they know their mask will slip if they wait too long. The somatic sign here is a tightness in your chest, a feeling of being breathless or pressured, like you are being chased. Form 3 is the drainer. This person seems to have resources or wisdom, yet every time you leave their presence, you feel exhausted. You feel like you need a nap. They feed off your light while pretending to add to it. The real envoy energizes you. The counterfeit depletes you. The somatic sign is a physical heaviness in your limbs, a sudden onset of fatigue whenever they call or walk into the room. Form 4 is the chaos bringer. They come with a great story, a great opportunity, but they are surrounded by drama. There is always an emergency. There is always a crisis. They want you to be their savior. They appeal to your orphan spirit's need to be needed. The somatic sign is a knot in your stomach, a constant low-level anxiety that spikes whenever you engage with them. Form 5 is the transactional. This counterfeit financier or protector offers help, but there is always an invisible hook. You feel like you owe them. The dynamic is not partnership, it is leverage. They hold their support over your head to control you. The somatic sign is a tension in your jaw or neck, a feeling of bracing yourself, the instinct to protect your freedom. Form 6 is the logic trap. This opportunity looks perfect on paper. The numbers make sense. The resume is flawless. Your brain says yes, but your spirit says nothing. It is dead silence in your gut, or worse, a check in your spirit that makes no logical sense. The enemy loves to use logic to override intuition. The somatic sign is a disconnect between your head and your gut. Your mind is racing with excitement, but your stomach feels cold or empty. Form 7 is the almost. This is the hardest one. They are 99% right. They have the look, the language, the vibe. But there is a 1% that is off. Maybe it is a comment they made. Maybe it is how they treat a waiter. Maybe it is a theological slight. You try to ignore it. You try to round up. But God is in the 1%. That 1% is the poison. The somatic sign is a persistent, quiet hesitation that will not go away, no matter how much you pray it away. I want you to take a moment right now in your mind. Imagine you are standing at the door of your life. You are the gatekeeper. Visualize these 7 forms standing outside. Now, visualize the discernment grid descending over the doorway. It is a filter of pure, holy fire. Make a decision right now in your spirit. Say to yourself, I will not let the counterfeit in. I will not open the door for the almost. I will wait for the authentic. I will trust my gut over my eyes. If it is not peace, it is not God. If I have to force it, it is not the envoy. When you apply this grid, you clear the landing zone. You remove the interference. And when you do that, the 3 real envoys, the ones ordained by heaven, can finally dock. The financier will bring resources without sorrow. The protector will cover you without controlling you. The destiny partner will unlock you without draining you. You are so close to this convergence. The envoys are en route. The counterfeits are being exposed. The coordinates are locking in. But listen to me. Even if you master this grid, even if you filter out every single counterfeit, there is one final trap that the enemy has set in the timeline itself. It is a specific window of time that occurs exactly 3 days before the breakthrough arrives. I call it the panic pulse. It is a biological and spiritual ambush designed to make you abort the mission right at the finish line. Most chosen ones survive the waiting, they survive the counterfeits, but they fall victim to the panic pulse because they do not know it is coming. The panic pulse is a biological and spiritual ambush designed to make you abort the mission right at the finish line. Most chosen ones survive the waiting, they survive the counterfeits, but they fall victim to the panic pulse because they do not know it is coming. Here is exactly what it looks like. You have been holding your position for weeks. You are finally feeling grounded. You are practicing the lighthouse protocol. And then, out of nowhere, usually about 72 hours before the real envoy is scheduled to make contact, an overwhelming wave of irrational terror hits your nervous system. It does not feel like a spiritual attack. It feels like reality. Your brain suddenly screams, "What are you doing? You are ruining your life. You need to move now. You need to take that bad job. You need to call that toxic ex back." It is a biological urge to flee the pressure. The enemy uses this pulse because he knows the timeline better than you do. He knows the financier is 3 days away. He knows the protector is turning the corner. So he tries to scare you off the X, the landing spot, so that when the blessing arrives, the house is empty. If you do not recognize this pulse as a lie, you will pack up your tent and leave exactly 1 hour before the miracle knocks on your door. I want to anchor this truth in a real story, so you can see it with your own eyes. I want to take you into the living room of a chosen one I counseled last year. Let's call him David. David was a visionary, but he was drowning. I want you to visualize his apartment. It is small, dimly lit, and on the kitchen table there is a stack of unopened envelopes. They are final notices. The air in the room feels heavy, stale, and suffocating. David had been running for 5 years, trying to force his business to work, borrowing money, chasing investors who ghosted him. He was exhausted. We implemented the lighthouse protocol. We told him to stop pitching, stop chasing, and start anchoring. For 30 days, nothing happened. The silence was deafening, but David held his ground. He refused to move. Then came day 37. The panic pulse hit him. He was sitting on the edge of his bed, head in his hands, shaking. His landlord had just called. A counterfeit envoy, a predatory investor, had offered him a deal that would have saved him financially, but cost him 50% of his company. His logic screamed, "Take the deal." His fear screamed, "You have no choice." He picked up the pen to sign the contract. He was sweating. His heart was hammering against his ribs, but because he knew about the panic pulse, he stopped. He dropped the pen. He physically laid on the floor of his living room and said, "No, this is the ambush. I am staying put." He rejected the deal. He stared at the ceiling for 3 more agonizing days. On day 41, his phone rang. It was not an investor. It was an old acquaintance he hadn't spoken to in 3 years. This person said, "I don't know why, but you have been on my mind all week. I have a friend who is looking for exactly what you build. Can I connect you?" That introduction led to the financier. The financier brought the capital. The capital attracted the protector. Within 3 months, David's life was unrecognizable. He didn't chase any of it. He simply survived the panic pulse and let the envoys find him. So how do you survive those final 72 hours? How do you ensure your signal is strong enough to pierce through the fear? We need to apply framework number 3, the signal calibration. This comes from the prophet Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 1. He says, "I will stand upon my watch, and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me." Notice the language. He sets himself upon the tower. He elevates his perspective. He is not looking at the ground. He is looking at the horizon. I want to do a signal calibration with you right now. This is a mental action to clean your frequency. You do not need to move. I want you to imagine that your mind is a radio tower. Right now, it is cluttered with static. The static of bills, the static of opinions, the static of the news. In your imagination, I want you to find the volume dial for the world. Reach out with your mind and turn it down. Turn it down until the voices of your critics sound like distant whispers. Turn it down until your own anxiety becomes a hum. Now, I want you to visualize the landing lights of your life. Imagine you are standing on a runway in the dark. You are holding 2 flares. One is faith, the other is expectancy. In your mind, strike the flares. See the brilliant red light cutting through the darkness. You are standing firm on the runway, waving these flares, signaling to the envoys. You are saying, "I am here. I am ready. I am not afraid." Feel the heat of that light. This visualization is not just a fantasy. It is a spiritual broadcast. When you do this, you become visible in the spirit realm. The financier sees the flare. The destiny partner sees the light. When the panic pulse hits you next week, or maybe tomorrow, I want you to return to this mental image. Do not look at the fear. Look at the flares. Remind yourself that the panic is the greatest sign that you are close. You do not get nervous at the start of the race. You get nervous at the finish line. The intensity of the attack is proof of the proximity of the breakthrough. You now have the complete strategy. You understand the urgent halt. You have mastered the lighthouse protocol. You have identified the 3 envoys. You have the discernment grid for the counterfeits. And you are equipped to survive the panic pulse. You have the protocol. You have the tools. You have the mindset. But there is one question that is still burning in your spirit. It is the question that haunts every chosen one. You are asking, "I believe you, but when? When will they arrive? Is it weeks? Is it months? Is it years?" I am about to show you the timeline. God works in seasons, not seconds. And there is a prophetic calendar that governs the arrival of these envoys. If you know the time, you can endure the wait. Let me show you exactly where you are on God's clock. The question of when is the question that torments the soul. But God is not a God of random delays. He is a God of precise, mathematical timing. To understand when the envoys will arrive, we must look at Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1. It says, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." In English, we read the word time, and we think of a clock ticking on the wall. We think of chronos, which is the chronological passing of minutes and hours. That is the time that kills you. That is the time that makes you feel old and left behind. But the Hebrew word used in this scripture is eth. Eth does not mean 2 p.m. Eth means an occurrence. It means an appointed collision. It describes a window of opportunity that opens and closes. You have been stuck in Chronos, watching the calendar flip, wondering why nothing is changing. But today, by engaging the Lighthouse Protocol, you have stepped into Eth. You have stepped into Kairos time. And based on the spiritual laws of alignment, I am going to give you a specific timeline. I am seeing a 21-day cycle. This is not a random number. It is the time required to break a habit and establish a new frequency. It is the time Daniel fasted to break through the interference of the Prince of Persia. For the next 21 days, you are going to be in a gestation period. Here is exactly how it will unfold. Days 1 through 7 are the detox. This is the week where you will feel the panic pulse the strongest. Your old self will scream. The counterfeits will try to call you back. Your job in this first week is simply to hold the line. Do not move. Do not sign. Do not call. Just anchor. Days 8 through 14 are the calibration. This is when the silence stops feeling scary and starts feeling holy. You will notice your dreams becoming vivid. You will notice the static in your mind clearing. You will start to feel the heavy magnetic pull of the envoys drawing closer. Days 15 through 21 are the arrival. This is the window of collision. This is when the phone rings. This is when the email comes. This is when the chance encounter happens. But listen to me carefully. You cannot enter day 15 if you quit on day 7. You have to endure the detox to get to the delivery. But knowing the time is not enough. You must also prepare the space. If the financier, the protector, and the destiny partner walked into your life right this second, would they find a place to sit? Or is your life so cluttered with the debris of your past, with the noise of your trauma, and the busyness of your survival mode, that there is no room for them to land? You cannot invite royalty into a ruin. You must prepare the landing zone. I want you to perform a spiritual cleaning with me right now. We are going to make room for the blessing. You do not need to stand up or grab a broom. We are going to do this in the architecture of your spirit. I want you to close your eyes if you are in a safe place, or turn your focus inward. Imagine your life is a house. Walk through the front door. Look around. What do you see? Over there in the corner is a pile of old conversations. It is the arguments you are still having in your head with people who hurt you 10 years ago. It is the resentment you are holding against your parents. It is the bitterness you are holding against God. That pile is taking up the space where the protector needs to stand. In your mind, I want you to visualize a holy fire. Pick up that pile of resentment. Feel the weight of it. It smells like rot. Now, throw it into the fire. Watch it burn. Watch it turn to ash. Say to your spirit, I am making room. Now look at the table. It is covered in anxiety. It is covered in the bills you are afraid to open. It is covered in the rejection letters. That is the table where the financier needs to sit to sign the contract of your destiny. But there is no space for him. Clear the table, sweep the fear onto the floor, and sweep it out the door. Wipe the surface clean. Visualize that table shining, empty, and ready for a feast. Now look at the empty chair opposite you. That is the seat of the destiny partner. For years, you have let loneliness sit there. You have let desperation sit there. You have let unworthy people sit there just so you wouldn't be alone. Command those spirits to leave. Point to the door and tell loneliness, you are evicted. Point to desperation and tell it, your lease is up. Look at that empty chair. Do not see it as a void. See it as a reservation. Place a reserved sign on it in your mind. It is not empty. It is awaited. Do you feel the shift in the atmosphere? You have just cleared a landing strip in the spirit. You have signaled to heaven that you are not just waiting for a miracle. You are hosting one. The envoys can land now because there is finally room for them. We have arrived at the threshold. We have diagnosed the running. We have shattered the false summit. We have exposed the addiction to chaos. We have identified the 3 envoys. We have set the discernment grid. We have calibrated the signal, and we have cleared the room. There is nothing left to learn. There is nothing left to discuss. There is only one thing left to do. We must seal this. This is not just a prayer. This is a legal transaction in the courts of heaven. We are going to lock in your coordinates so that no devil in hell can scramble your signal again. We are going to bind the panic pulse. We are going to summon the envoys. And we are going to commission you as a lighthouse. I need you to shift your posture right now. If you are lying in bed, sit up. If you are sitting, sit up straight. If you can stand, get on your feet. If you are driving, command your spirit to stand at attention inside your body. Do not approach this moment casually. You are about to speak to the unseen realm. You are about to give a command to your future. The time for teaching is over. The time for activation is now. I want you to put your hand over your heart. Feel that beat. That is the drum of a warrior. That is the rhythm of someone who has survived the wilderness and is ready for the promised land. Take a deep breath. Inhale the certainty of your calling. Exhale the last remnants of your fear. Prepare your spirit. We are going to seal this word. We are going to lock the door on the enemy and open the gate for the king. The activation begins in 3, 2, 1. In the authority of the Most High God, and by the power of the Holy Spirit, I declare that the atmosphere around you is now legally shifted. Heaven is recording this moment. The books are open. The court is in session. And we are here to rewrite the verdict over your life. Father, I present this chosen one to you. For years, they have been running. They have been hunting. They have been exhausted by the spirit of the orphan. But today, that cycle ends. We acknowledge the fatigue. We acknowledge the fear of being left behind. We acknowledge the years of silent tears, and we lay them all on the altar of your grace. It is finished. The running stops now. I hereby seal the lighthouse protocol over your spirit. I decree that your feet are anchored in the bedrock of faith. You will no longer be moved by the winds of chaos. You will no longer be tossed by the waves of doubt. I speak to your nervous system right now, and I command it to align with the peace of God. Be still. I rebuke the addiction to cortisol. I rebuke the addiction to drama. I command your soul to return to its rest. I bind the spirit of the runner that has kept you chasing the wind. You have no authority here anymore. I bind the panic pulse that waits in the shadows of the timeline. We expose you now. We strip you of your power to terrify. When the fear rises in the coming days, this chosen one will not flee. They will stand. They will hold the line. I activate the discernment grid over your mind. I sharpen your spiritual intuition. I command your eyes to see through the masks of the counterfeits. I close the door to the almost. I close the door to the transactional. I close the door to the drainers. They will not find a landing strip in your life. Their access is denied. And now, I speak to the envoys. I speak to the north, the south, the east, and the west. I call forth the divine connections ordained for this specific destiny. I call forth the financier. I command the resources to locate the vision. I command the Josephs to find their pharaohs. Stop delayed, stop detained, come forth. I call forth the protector. I command the shield to take its place. I break the curse of betrayal. I break the pattern of the scapegoat. I release the Jonathan spirit to cover this chosen one. Come forth. I call forth the destiny partner. I speak to the missing piece of the code. I command the deep to call unto the deep. I remove the veil of invisibility. The signal is strong. The coordinates are locked. Come forth. I seal this 21-day cycle. From this moment forward, you are in the gestation of the miracle. Do not abort it. Do not dig up the seed. Walk in the confidence of a king. Walk in the stillness of a queen. I have one final question for your spirit. Do you accept this assignment? Do you accept the command to stay put and let God be God? If your answer is yes, I want you to scream yes in the silence of your heart right now. Let it echo in your ribcage. Yes. It is recorded. The seal is set. The transaction is complete. You are no longer the hunter. You are the magnet. You are dismissed from the wilderness. Go and let them find you. It is done.